Okay, guys, here's what's up. I'm Mike Luciano of the Jet Press. As you can probably tell, a little under the weather this week, a little scratchy voice. I don't know what I had happen over the weekend, but not feeling my best. So I thought, you know what? Some Jets football. That'll cheer me up. It always does. The Jets, right? They're just purveyors of sunshine. And then they start off hot in this game against Miami, a team that is starting to creep up there with New England in terms of my dislike because of how loud they are about Tua. And without a lot of their best players, what do you know? They're ahead again for the third week in a row. The Jets led in the fourth quarter. And for the third week in a row, the Jets lost through a choke that you can't believe it. Aaron Rodgers, who has been given a lot of crap this season for his overall play, no problems with it today. No problems with it. And he gets you the lead with a minute left, under a minute left. Should have been a game-winning drive. Should have been the second Jets win on a Sunday this year on December 8th. And then the return happens. And then Tua gets him into field goal range. Okay, whatever, overtime. Jonnu Smith, who hasn't caught a ball in the entire game. 3 straight catches. Touchdown, good night, Vienna. This is one of those games. I know you're happy if you're a tank guy that they have a worse record. I get that. You can't lose like this. It does damage to your fan base, and it does damage to your players. Because I know Hall didn't play. I know Sauce didn't play. These guys, a lot of them, are going to be here next year. All they've done in their entire careers in situations like this is lose. A new coach will help. A quarterback could possibly help. Can't fix everything, man. So thanks for tuning in to the Jet Press Podcast. I'm Mike Luciano. Justin Fried will be here in a second. He had some obligations to take care of on the writing end of things, but you can support the show in 2 ways. One, just for free. Like the stream on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube. They both help. And you could leave do a 99-cent membership. If you do that, you get priority reply to the comments, which on live streams can get a little busy. So if you want to do that, support the show, perfect way to do it. As Justin Fried comes in. Justin, I was under the weather to begin, and this certainly didn't help things.
Oh, did it not? It helped me. I feel great. Not that
I'm so over the whole it's happy because you can't lose like this. That's 3 times in a month, 3 in a row, where they've lost at leading in the fourth quarter. This is doing damage to your roster when you do shit like this. This is doing damage to your psyche when you do stuff like this. And yeah, all right, if they draft Jalen Milroe, it could help. But who cares? They never picked the right guy anyway. And B, the whole culture change we're talking about, all that's going to be much harder if you keep losing stuff like this. There's more stuff to change. Like the fix is getting harder with all of these losses.
Is it though?
Yes.
I disagree. I don't think these losses matter for next year outside of draft position. People always try and say that, and they always spin it when their favorite team wins games late in the year, and they're like, oh, we're going to build more momentum for next year. No, you're not. That momentum never carries over. That's a fallacy. That's not true. The only reason these games matter right now is for evaluating your players like Olu Fashanu, like Braylon Allen, like Isaiah Davis, who all look very good. So I'm very happy that the young guys in the roster are looking good. And then draft position. That is the only reason these games matter, because the Jets quarterback's not going to be here next year. Coaching staff's not going to be here next year. Front office is already gone. They're not going to be here next year. None of these guys that are contributing to this loss, for the most part, are going to be here next year. So I don't really care if they lose these games. I want a better draft pick. I don't know if that's going to mean anything. They might pick the wrong guy anyway, but they have a better chance of drafting a better player with a better draft pick. I think it's just hilarious at this point. Like, it doesn't bother me to see the Jets continuously blow games like this. Like, I honestly sit there as confident as I can be that I'm like, they're going to find a way. They're going to find a way. And any time for a second, if I'm like, maybe the Jets actually win this game, maybe they win here. Nope, they don't.
It's not like, I don't get how that's funny. It's not funny to me.
That's hilarious. I think that's really funny.
It's not funny to me. It pisses me off.
Because Mike,
because that just makes you a loser sad sack team.
They are. What else are they? Are you?
I know, but it's almost like you're being proud of it.
I'm not proud of anything with this football team. The only thing I'm proud of, and it's jokingly proud of, is that they keep finding ways to lose the tank and kill their draft and help their draft position. I'm jokingly proud. This team is a complete shit show. I mean, you want my honest thoughts. They're a disaster of a football organization and one of the most unserious professional sports teams that I've ever laid eyes on. But
now you're talking sense.
Right, but ultimately, who cares? I already knew that. Like, I already knew that about this team. And if they found a way to somehow win this game against Miami, my opinion would not have changed. The only thing that would have changed was that they would have hurt their draft position. That is the only thing that would have changed. I don't care. I mean, tell me this isn't funny to you, Mike. Aaron Rodgers snapped his 35-game streak or whatever it is and threw for 300 yards for the first time since 2021 today. Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams both go over 100 yards. The Jets had the ball up 8 entering the fourth quarter. They gave the ball back to their opponents with up 3 with like 45 seconds of play. Their opponents had no timeouts. Not to mention, can we talk about the clock management on that last Jets touchdown drive or the last Jets field goal drive? Because my God, man, there's 1 minute and 2 on the clock. They have the ball. Miami has no timeouts. They decide to throw the ball, already a bold decision. If you're throwing it there, it needs to be completed. I get they're trying to make it a shorter field goal. Understandable. And it worked. They got a shorter field goal. If you are throwing that ball, why are you calling a throw to the boundary? Why are you throwing that ball to Devontae Adams? Jeff Ulbrich has said that the play, Adams is not supposed to get out of bounds on that play. So why are you throwing it to him when he's a half a yard in bounds? Ulbrich is saying
the problem I have with this is, and see, that's the thing. Obviously, they weren't going to make the playoffs this year with anybody, but they're a 3-10 team. There's 3 games in a row consecutively where you could say better coaching would probably have helped them win that game in general.
These coaches aren't going to be here next year, so let them.
I know. I'm saying though, the broader point. There's 3 of those, and then 2 games they lost on kicks.
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder if things were more buttoned up. What would they be?
But they're not. And so now that the Jets are like, if this was earlier in the year, Mike, I wouldn't be rooting for a fucking loss, obviously. But they're already eliminated from playoff contention. I mean, they weren't mathematically until today, but they were eliminated from playoff contention. So at this point, yeah, I'm rooting for competitive losses. I'm rooting for Braylon Allen to look good, Isaiah Davis to look good, Olu Fashanu to look good. I want that, and I want the team to lose. I don't want to be doing this, Mike. Do you think I want to be sitting here?
But you are doing it.
No, I'm rooting because that's the only thing I can do at this point. I don't want to be sitting here, Mike. I don't want to be sitting here rooting for my favorite football team to lose to a division rival in December. That's awful. This shit sucks. Would you rather them win a meaningless December game? Why?
Because honestly, sometimes beating division rivals in December, that shit's cool. I don't care. Cool. It was cool to get Bill Belichick fired last year.
Sure, it's fine. It was okay, and it might work out.
Some games too, whether you're pro tank or not, like the way they're losing these games, like you simply can't do it.
Look.
They go against everything.
I want to be clear, and I've said this a lot in the past. I will never please fandom. If you are rooting for the Jets to win every single game, that is awesome. I am happy for you, especially that. Well, they lost, unfortunately, so I'm sorry for you, but. There's nothing wrong with that. I see nothing wrong with rooting for your favorite football team to win every single game. But I also think it's silly that some fans will be like, "Oh, you're not a real fan. If you're rooting for them to lose, fuck off." No.
Well, I think the way it is, like, I'll go in saying like I don't really care either way. But then if you're up by like 10 or whatever, against and Rodgers is playing well, then you're like, and then I'm like, okay, they should probably now I want to see him win.
But why do you care? Why do you care if Aaron Rodgers does? Why does that matter?
Well, I'm saying I would like to see if my team is playing well to a point where 85 to 90% of the other teams in the league would have closed that game. I want to see him close that game because I want to see him choke.
But who cares? Aaron Rodgers isn't going to be here next year. Jeff Ulbrich's not going to be here next year. Todd Downing, who's actually done a pretty good job, is not going to be here next year. Why does it matter if they manage to sneak out a close win? It doesn't. It doesn't. Yeah,
because there's at least something. There's at least in a
For
season
who?
where nothing's positive and writ large there's nothing positive. There's at least something where you could be like, all right, I liked watching that game because it was
That's fine.
cool. And there's something there.
And if you think that, and if that's how you feel, I have not, like, that is perfectly fine, buddy. I honestly, I envy fans that can continue to root for their teams no matter the situation. I envy that because I wish I could do that. Like, I wish I could just, it makes it less complicated. If I could just go in every game being like, yep, I want this team to win. I don't want to be doing this, Mike. I don't want this to be the 14th year in a row. 14 goddamn years that this team has missed the playoffs. The Jet
And
Press,
they're ninth straight with a losing record.
the Jet Press as an entity did not exist the last time the Jets won a playoff game or made the playoffs, played in a playoff game. The Jet Press is the only fan-sided NFL site to never cover a playoff game. I don't want that to be the case, especially this year of all goddamn years, where we went into the year with legitimate Super Bowl aspirations, playoff expectations, Super Bowl aspirations, and we're 3-10. And I'm rooting for the fucking Dolphins in December. You think I want that to be my life, Mike? This sucks.
I'm just saying you had a conscious decision to do that, and you decided to do it.
Yes, because it's for the better of the organization. I'd rather them lose these games because winning them doesn't help. Winning doesn't help them. Maybe it makes you feel better. Maybe it makes the players a little happier in the moment. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure the players would love it if they won. But is this going to matter September next year? No, it's going to matter who they have on their roster. And that's going to be determined by draft position. But again, if you are rooting, I want to make this very clear. If you are rooting for the Jets to win, that's perfectly fine. And there's nothing wrong with that.
That's what AJ's saying. I can't root for the Jets to lose.
Nothing wrong with that. And that's great. And that is awesome. And like I'm trying.
Garrett Wilson isn't trying to lose. Devontae Adams isn't
No, the
trying
players
to lose.
never try to lose. And that's I'm happy for the players if they win. I feel bad. I feel bad for guys like Garrett Wilson, who goes out every single game and plays his ass off. Jamien Sherwood just had a monster game. Dude was balling his ass off.
18 tackles.
Yeah, he was incredible. And unfortunately, there's nothing to show for it. That sucks. And I hate that for the players. I'm just looking at it from the organizational standpoint. Winning this game hurts them. They would have fallen to 9th, I believe, in the draft order if they won this game.
They would have been, yeah, but then also like Cincinnati would still have to play, Chicago would still have to play. Like,
sure, and if one of them win, sure, and if one of them were to win, then maybe they'd fall lower. But
right now they're 7th because there are 6 3-10 teams right now.
And going into that Jacksonville game, Mike, that's the Jets Super Bowl. That's the Super Bowl for this year now. Going forward, that is the most important game of the year next week. If they lose that game, they could end up with a top 4 pick. If they win that game, who knows if they get a top 10 pick. That's a massive, massive difference.
They're 4-10. I'd imagine, like, they'd have to win out to not get a top 10.
There are currently 8 teams with 3 or fewer wins.
I know, but Jacksonville and Tennessee play each other again.
Sure. So and but if the Jets lose to Jacksonville and Jacksonville wins that, like,
I'm saying, like, even if you go 7-10, like the Jets were 7-10.
If the
last
Jets
year and got 11, so if they win out,
if the Jets only win one more game, they finish with a top 10 pick. If they win 2 more games, I'm not confident they finish with a top 10 pick at all. There are a lot of really bad teams.
They're going to be 5-12 and pick 11th.
Yes, that's very possible. Look at what it is right now. Look at the draft order. Absolutely, that's possible. There are 10
that means everybody else has to keep winning in the middle rounds. Everybody else behind them has to keep losing.
The Raiders, Giants, Patriots, Panthers, Jags, Tennessee, and Cleveland, and the Jets all have 3 wins right now. That's 8 teams with 3 wins. Massive difference. And again, it's fine. Like, if you want to win the win, that's okay. I'm just saying, especially for the Jets right now, which, by the way, we got AJ gifting a membership to Wesley Thompson. Much appreciated, guys. I'm sure you mentioned it at the top of the show, Mike, but for those joining now, you can become a member of the Jet Press podcast. It is 99 cents. It is a great way to support the show, and it helps you get your chats in your comments in chat prioritized. So we much appreciate it, especially watching this bullshit team and joining us. But yeah, especially Mike, given the report that came out earlier this morning from Ian Rappaport, where he said, and I don't know how much you want to talk about it, but Rappaport reported that the Jets are likely, or his understanding is that it's likely the Jets will draft a quarterback this year. First of all, that's probably implying that's a Woody Johnson decision, because obviously the new regime is not here. We don't even know where they're picking in the draft. But if
Woody was not named ambassador to London, so
right, so he might be sticking around. If Ian Rappaport can report that the Jets are, to his understanding, likely to draft a quarterback, that certainly implies that's a Woody Johnson decision. That's number one. Number two, if that's the case, surely the Jets want to finish with as low of a high of a draft pick as possible. They want to finish with as early of a pick as possible so that they can get one of the top quarterbacks, because who knows how the draft order and how the draft stock for these quarterbacks is going to shake out come April. We don't know that right now. We could sit here right now and say that probably Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders are the top 2 quarterbacks, but we don't know what's going to be the case in April, because you look back a few years ago, remember the Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold year? This time of that 17, Baker Mayfield wasn't even a first-round pick. He went first overall.
Right, but you still knew there were going to be that many quarterbacks up here right now. The problem with this class,
you didn't know that about Baker Mayfield. You did. We did. Baker Mayfield was not.
No, I'm saying like you still knew there were going to be 4 or 5 quarterbacks all picked extremely high.
There Darnold, Rosen.
You just didn't know who or the order.
Darnold, Rosen were the top 2 for a while, and then Allen entered that conversation, and Baker entered it later. Lamar was not in that.
Lamar was not. Yes, but the difference this year though is there are 2 guys that are going to go high, and then there's nobody even challenging them.
I disagree. I don't.
And
think
then you have on top of that, there's Darnold and Jameis.
You cannot confidently say that there is not. I think 3 quarterbacks go top 10. I would make that.
I'm saying that I think 3 quarterbacks can go top 10, but I think whoever ends up in the top 10, that third one, I think it's going to be an overdraft based on need. Possibly. The only 2 players that I think are for sure top 10 prospects and top 10 are going to go top 10 are Ward and Sanders.
2 things. One, people said that about Bo Nix and said that he was an overdraft for need, and he's been balling this year. So you never know with quarterbacks. 2, we don't know.
People said it about Daniel Jones, and they were right.
And they were right. Absolutely. We don't know. The point we can't speak with certainties here, Mike. And that's what I'm trying to say with the quarterback class as well. We can't say in December that there is, come April, it's 100% guaranteed going to be 2 top quarterbacks and nobody in their tier. We can't say that because so much can change over the next few months in the draft process. So much can change.
I would hope so. But before we get to comments, put a bow on this,
real quick. All I know is that the higher the Jets are picking in the draft, the better it is that they're going to be able to land a quarterback or any top prospect for that matter. You have a higher likelihood of getting a better player. If you want to root for them to win, that is awesome. I'm explaining my rationale and why I hate to do this. I don't want to root for them to lose, but for the betterment of the organization, that's why.
Well, I think my rationale, before we wrap this up and get to comments, is I think they're not going to get Ward or Sanders. So
we don't know
because of that.
Who says that? We don't know that.
Because they're so... Unless something bordering on catastrophic happens, Shedur's going to go to the Raiders, and Ward's going to go to the Giants.
You're speaking with way too much certainty. It's this. You would put like 99% odds that Shedeur goes to the Raiders right now.
Yeah, less on Ward to the Giants, but definitely on Shedeur to the Raiders.
You were 99% certain that's going to happen.
I'm not 99, but more likely than not, yeah.
Okay, more likely that's a different. You said unless something catastrophic happens. That's not. Like if you're saying like, 50% chance,
I still think we're doing semantics here. I mean,
I'm just saying. I don't think it's like a foregone conclusion by any means that Sanders and Ward go 1-2 or whatever, 1-2-3 or 1-3 or wherever the Jags pick because they're not going to take a quarterback. I don't think that's a foregone conclusion at all. I think it's way too early to be saying that, and as a result, lose as many games you can. Give yourself the best chance you can.
Plus, too, like if you look at the other teams in that top 10. Like in that 3-10 miasma.
Sure.
The only team I could really see possibly drafting a quarterback out, even if you go to the top 10 and include Cincinnati, Chicago, the only team I could possibly see consider drafting a quarterback in that area are Carolina and Tennessee. And I don't think either of them do.
I think Tennessee definitely might. Also, Cleveland, absolutely.
Levis has been better than Young, and I think they still got the Watson contract. So I think probably
the new regime in Tennessee isn't tied to Will Levis. Like Brian Callahan is not tied to him at all. And Cleveland, they have the Watson contract, but they still could draft the quarterback. Like if there's somebody that they like, we didn't think the Falcons were to draft the quarterback last year after they took Kirk Cousins. Like I think it's silly to speak in like definitives with the NFL because we don't know what's going to happen. All we know is that the higher you pick, historically, the better odds you have of drafting a good player. That's all.
Yeah, the Jets always draft good players.
Well, yeah, the Jets suck at everything, man. But if that's the case, what are we talking? Why are we even here analyzing anything?
Let's get to comments. We'll start with Marcelo Cabrera. Rookie running backs were great.
They were. I thought they looked really good. I really enjoyed Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis. I think they're NFL caliber backs. And
Davis is better than I thought he'd be.
I agree. Now that they're finally giving him some snaps, because up until last week, he was only playing garbage time and special teams. So I think they got 3 NFL caliber backs going into next year. I don't know if anybody's commented about the offensive line, but I would love to talk about them because I thought they had maybe their best game of the year. Fashanu has looked
Max
very
Mitchell notwithstanding.
Yeah, but we know Max Mitchell's bad. He was forced into act because Morgan Moses is playing through like a torn rotator cuff and probably a broken wrist on him. And he was still
on this team of all teams to do that for.
Dude, I want Morgan Moses to be back next year. I don't know if you should necessarily, hey, he's definitely the starter, but like bring that dude back.
He either hates his family or has gambling debts. Nobody loves playing for the Jets this much.
No, man. He's just a warrior. He's just an absolute warrior.
He's like Jason Peters is still playing. I'm like, he's got to have. There's no way at 42.
He's on the practice squad somewhere, right? Who's he on?
I think for the Cowboys or something?
The Seahawks.
Seahawks.
Yeah, he was with the Cowboys last year. He's on the Seahawks practice squad. Incredible, dude.
Ed Gumbrecht. Coach killed us 58 or so seconds ago, and we throw to the sidelines, what Justin was alluding to earlier.
Yep.
Stuff like this. And again, the Jets wouldn't be a playoff team with Saleh. But if I look at these last 3 games specifically, and I say if they have Robert Saleh, what's their record? It's not 0-3.
No, they'd be better.
It's probably 1-2, an outside shot at 2-1.
I think the Jets, if they kept Robert Saleh and had a competent kicker for the entire year, they'd be in the playoff hunt. I don't know if they'd be a playoff team, but they'd be in the playoff hunt.
If they kept Saleh, even if with Zerline, if they kept Saleh and then Downing was the OC because he was going to do that anyway, and then Ulbrich is still the defensive coordinator, what's their record?
Still with the kicker mishaps?
Even with that.
Probably have 2 more wins. I think they have 5 wins.
I was going to say 3, probably 6, and then there's
something along those lines.
And again, they're missing the playoffs still, but that's still a much more enjoyable, better season.
To allude to what I said before, would that really have been better for the organization to win 5 or 6 games this year as opposed to 3 or 4? I'd say no.
I'm saying in the immediate of is this season good or not? Yeah.
It would be more enjoyable, I guess, but it would be worse for the organization long run. So even though firing Saleh was obviously the wrong decision and it sucks they didn't have a competent kicker, it might end up working out. Like if you're going to bottom out, just fully bottom out.
Yeah. And if the goal this year was make the playoffs, they would have been closer to achieving the goal.
They would, but
if they kept Saleh,
maybe they also run it back with Aaron Rodgers another year. Now it seems like they're probably definitely not going to do that. I think there's
I will say he looked okay today. I have no problems with how he played today.
And you know why he looked okay, Mike? Because this was by far the best offensive line performance that we've seen. The offensive line, honestly, the last few weeks has been pretty good. Rodgers has not been able to take advantage of it, but they were outstanding in this game. The pass protection was incredible. Fashanu had a really good game. The whole offensive line, again, sans Max Mitchell was very, very good.
Lane Brandon, the same old Jets saying will never go away. Yep.
Yeah.
14 years in a row.
Who would ever think that saying would go away, man? That's crazy, right? Who would ever tweet about that?
Yeah, I've let you get off easy for that, but I mean,
no, I don't.
It's really your fault if we think about it.
No, you should. You should drill me for that. Like I deserve it.
2 turn. Jets have so many 1-possession games, and the defense can't get 1 stop. LMAO quarterback was never the problem. Last year it was.
Hold on. They've also had like 5 1-possession games where Rodgers had, including this game, Rodgers had the ball at the end of a game and hasn't been able to win the game. That's like 6 times.
Rodgers left the game with a lead under a minute left.
He did. This was the first time he did that this year, where he got the ball with under like 4 minutes to play and led a scoring drive to win the game or to potentially win the game. First time he's done that. So no, the QB absolutely is part of the problem this year. Not to absolve the defense of blame. That's what's amazing. And I don't use amazing in a positive connotation here. What's amazing about this team is that there is not one that you can blame. This is a collection of just dysfunction and misery and incompetence. It takes a special football team to lose the way that the Jets have lost these games repeatedly this year. It's remarkable. It's honestly like it's incredible to watch every single week. In a bad way, a good way of rooting for the tank, but in a bad way, just rooting for this team.
Can you imagine people wanted to hire Ulbrich last year as a head coach?
Yeah, he's definitely not helped his stock. I mean, he's in a rough spot, but he's definitely killed his stock.
I honestly don't think next year he's going to he might get some down the road. I don't think anybody will touch him next year.
I think he'll be a DC. I
think if he does, it'd be like a position coach. It'd be like a linebackers coach.
Maybe. I mean, that was his background in Atlanta, was a linebackers coach. I think he's built up enough goodwill over the last few years that he'll be a DC.
Yeah, but he just lit it all on fire this year.
I think teams, I don't think teams around the league are looking at the Jets right now and saying this is Jeff Ulbricht's fault. I don't think that's the narrative. Maybe it should be.
Them being 1-8 with him or 1-7.
Yeah, I think they see it as a team that completely quit, and maybe that's
why did
because they fired a head coach. Because they fired a head coach midseason. They probably should. I'm not saying Jeff Ulbrich has done a good job. He's absolutely not. I just don't think the narrative is going to be that this is Ulbricht's fault.
See, I just think that's the wrong way to view it for the rest of the league, not the Jets.
Maybe you're right.
Isaac Jr., a quarterback for what? They don't know how to groom a quarterback. Well, we tried the other way.
They don't know how to do anything. They literally
don't
just
know how to do it. And the other way didn't work. That's the only other way. There's two ways to get a quarterback, either a veteran or a young guy.
If
you got to pick one.
The Jets, you cannot play this strategy failed, so they can't do the strategy again. You can't play that game with the Jets because they've tried
every strategy. They've tried everything.
They've tried every strategy. You can't play that game with the Jets.
That's why I almost absolved Joe Douglas and Woody. Not most of the blame, but it's like, they did try pretty much everything, every possible permutation of things that they could have. And then it didn't work out.
Imagine because Rodgers failed, you say, oh, they can't go out and sign another Hall of Fame quarterback. Like, they can't trade for a Hall of Fame quarterback because Rodgers failed. Like, this sucks that this failed, but try something, try and draft another rookie quarterback. Maybe it'll work.
Marcelo Cabrera, to the earlier question, says 6-7 wins.
Yeah.
Francis 5 about if they kept Saleh.
Yeah. I also think, really quick, I've seen people throw this out there, and I think this is kind of alluding to what that comment said about the quarterback thing. I keep seeing people be like, oh, you can't bring a rookie quarterback into this mess. If you draft a rookie quarterback this year, this would be the best situation pending the coaching staff. We don't know who the coaching staff is going to be, but just pure roster construction. This would be the best situation that the Jets have brought a rookie quarterback into since when? Sanchez? Probably since Mark Sanchez. By a wide margin. Like, they have an offensive line. Despite
they have receivers, they have backs, they have a line.
Jets fans on Facebook might seem to think the Jets have an offensive line. Like, the offensive line is
that's still a thing.
Yes, there are still a lot of people who think the offensive line sucks this year because they don't know
how
offensive line because they only watch the Jets. They don't watch other teams and they don't even know how to evaluate their own team. That's why the Jets offensive line.
Even if you're watching the Jets, Aaron Rodgers got sacked twice today?
Once, I think, twice. He got sacked once at the end, which was a terrible sack to take, by the way. Awful sack.
That was his fault. And then Max Mitchell got beat all the time. But
and the other one was like
Washington's a stone wall. Tippmann's great. Simpson's been great.
The interior of the offensive line has been very good. I also see people, throwing out the Elijah Vera Tucker. Oh, he can never stay healthy. He had a bum ankle this year for 2 games, and that was it. Like, yeah, the other
he's fine and he's playing well.
People pretending like this year is proving that he's injury prone. He's played the entire year other than 2 games. Man, I feel like the expectations are crazy sometimes with that stuff. But the offensive line has been good, especially the last few weeks. I would say it's been very good. I think early in the year, especially run blocking was a little bit lackluster. Breece Hall, before he got hurt, over his last 5 games was averaging 5 yards per carry. The pass protection is the best it's been all year. They have a good offensive line going into next year. 4 of the 5 starters are under contract already, and you might be able to bring back Morgan Moses. They have Garrett Wilson, who's going to be here. Breece Hall is going to be here. They have plenty of talent. Like, this would be the best situation to bring a rookie quarterback into in years since Mark Sanchez, since 2009.
Or a veteran quarterback.
Sure, or a vet. I'm just saying that for the whole, you can't draft a rookie quarterback to this roster. Why the fuck not? For most rookie quarterbacks.
Rookie quarterbacks get drafted into worse situations all the time.
Significantly.
And a lot of them work out.
Look at every Jets rookie quarterback since Sanchez.
Yeah, but even look around the league. Is every team picking a rookie quarterback of a good situation? No. Most of them are worse than the Jets.
Absolutely. The Jets aren't a perfect situation, obviously, but they're better than most teams that are drafting a rookie quarterback.
Yeah. I've seen this debate on Twitter, who would you rather turn around, the Giants or the Jets? If you take away just the stink of the Jets,
the stigma,
and the history of if you take that away from it, and the pedigree of the Giants, and if you had no logos on the helmets and just this roster and the divisions they're in, most people would say I'd rather try to turn around the Jets.
Everyone would. The Jets are in a significantly better position right now than the Giants. You want to talk about a rookie quarterback going to a bad situation? Look at the Giants, because I don't think Daboll's going to be there next year. So who the hell knows who they're going to hire as their head coach?
Their offensive line is okay, but not
no. Their offensive line is second. Don't be nice. Their offensive line is awful. Greg Van Roten was.
I think it was awful. I think it's okay this year.
I mean, they've had injury. Greg Van Roten was playing center for them this week. It's not good. It's
Runyon's really okay. Thomas is good.
Well, Thomas is hurt. Thomas got hurt.
Well, I'm say if they have Thomas. But
No, if Andrew Thomas is healthy, sure, but Andrew Thomas has been hurt. Yeah, but it's a bad situation. You have Neighbors, awesome. Neighbors is a fantastic player. You don't really have another long-term receiver. Wan'Dale Robinson's fine. He's a fine complimentary piece.
Tracy looks okay, but but the Jets are
good. Tracy looks good, but yeah, it's the Jets. The Jets for sure.
Did you see Sean Marash say he was better than Saquon this year?
Yes. Sean, the less time we talk about Sean Marash, the better it is for us.
I used to have him tied with Licata. I think he's worse. Since surpassed him.
But he does it intentionally. Like he's an intentional troll.
But he's not even good at it. Skip Bayless was good at it. Like,
well, Skip does it in an endearing way where it's like, this guy's an idiot, but he's funny. Sean Marash isn't funny. He's just an idiot. Sorry, not
yeah, because I feel like people knew he's like doing a bit at this point with the LeBron stuff. He knew he's doing a bit almost.
Yes.
Marash is like, he thinks.
You know what it is? Skip feels like he's in on the joke. Marash does
not. We got Lane Brandon with a couple comments I want to get to. Fire coach in Game 5, fired GM a few weeks later. Yeah, the team quit.
They did. They absolutely did. They didn't care about Douglas. The players don't give a shit about Douglas. Most of the players don't usually have a personal connection, a close personal connection with the front office unless they've been there forever. But yes, when they fired Robert Saleh, it was a very, very stark difference in how the defense was playing.
And the problem is this was so it was so clear this was going to happen. I don't want to sound like I'm white knighting for Saleh or anything like that, but I mean, no interim coach has ever made the playoff. I think Rich Bisaccia was the last one.
Yep.
I think it was him, and then there was a guy in the 60s in the AFL. Interim coaches who led their team to the playoffs.
Yeah. And it was
you knew this was going to happen.
A 2-3 start to the year where they were one missed Greg Sirline field goal away, and then and then they lost by 6 points to the best team in the NFL at that time, which was the Vikings.
And they're still good. They're 11-2 now.
They're still great, and they're still a really good.
As Lane Brandon puts out, Darnold, who threw 5 touchdowns today, by the way, and Jets reunion. He wouldn't come back here.
I would support that. I would be for that. I think that'd be really fun.
But he wouldn't, yeah.
I'd be surprised if he did it, and I also would be surprised if that was the Jets' first choice because of the contract that he's going to get and because they're paying Aaron Rodgers still. I don't think they can really afford it. I don't think that would fit their window.
Where do you think he goes?
I don't know. It's a fun question. I mean,
I think the Giants and the Raiders are going to draft guys.
I think there's still a chance Minnesota brings him back. I think if he goes and he wins a playoff game or two with the Vikings, it's a really tough sell to not bring him back. I know you just drafted McCarthy, but that's
what do you do with McCarthy?
You Michael Penix him. I don't know. You keep him around and see what happens with Darnold. You keep him around as insurance and you potentially trade him. But you also
be a Joe Douglas win if they trade up for a backup quarterback and you still get Fashanu.
That would be real. That would be really funny. But outside of that, I don't know where else. I don't know where else he would go. I'm just looking at the teams now. In New Orleans, if they get rid of Carr, but I don't think they could pay Darnold.
And Carr would go somewhere. So
yeah, they can't pay Darnold. Russ is probably going back to Pittsburgh, and the other top teams probably aren't changing quarterbacks. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Very interesting situation to look at.
Because if you're signing him, he's your starter too. So I don't think
who knows what his market value would be if there's not a ton of teams interested. I mean, it probably will still be decently high. I honestly, I still think a return to Minnesota makes the most sense for him.
What I think would be the dream scenario is Stafford retires and the Rams get him.
Sure, that would be. Dude, Sean McVay would love
that. Would be good.
That would be.
Marcelo Cabrera. My eyes are on Justin Fields. I'd welcome it. I've liked Justin Fields.
If the Jets win a couple of games and they're picking 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, whatever that is, absolutely. I wouldn't do that if they have a top 4 pick. If they lose out and they get a top 4 pick, you could probably end up getting a quarterback, maybe even trading up or something like that. But absolutely, that I would rather Fields than a Jameis Winston or a Jacoby Brissett or a Derek Carr even.
Here's a scenario that I want to present to you, though.
Sure.
You're picking in the top 5. Ward is gone. Sanders is gone.
Sure.
You probably don't love Milroe. You probably don't love Carson Beck or Drew Aller. Aller, I thought had a pretty good
Aller's stock is rising, man. He is skyrocketing.
I like Aller a lot. I just thought for a while the rumor was he was going to go back next year and try to be the number 1 pick in 26. I think he might come out now.
I think now with his stock at an all-time high, he is somebody. If I was saying right now in December 8th, anybody
I might like Aller and Milroe almost equally, though.
That's the thing. I think right now, if I'm saying in December, if I'm predicting one other quarterback that's going to go top 10, I might say Aller over Milroe. They both are upside picks, and that's why I think they're both going to get a little, I don't want to say overdrafted, but they're both going to get drafted higher than they normally would be. I think Aller is going to really sell some people especially if he tests well at pro day and his numbers look great. And they're like, holy shit, this dude's, 6'5" or whatever he is. He's got a rocket arm. Like 240. He's so young. Like, I think
he's only a true junior. He's not like, Anthony Richardson.
He's 20, he's 21, right? He's 20, 21?
He's 20, but he'll be 21 when,
Yeah, that's young. I mean, that's about as young as you're to get, unless you're going to Braylon Allen,
Brian Sternbeck, who is no longer Minish's Spurner.
Hey, welcome back, Brian.
Jets drafted 5 quarterbacks in the first 2 rounds in the last 15 years. 4 of the 5 started immediately and were off the team within 4 years. The 5th is Christian Hackenberg, who just immediately could not play.
Christian Hackenberg, who famously never threw a professional touchdown pass. Even when he went to the AAF, he had 0 touchdowns and 3 picks.
My favorite part of Hackenberg was because, the reporters aren't allowed to practice, and he would get so few snaps. They had 4 quarterbacks at the time. Yeah. So you would get so few, and you just hear all these apocryphal tales of, how bad he was, but, no one could verify it.
It's a great
you'd hear stories where they'd be like, a lineman was shouting at him, and he calls him to fumble the ball because he got scared, or, he hit a reporter in the head with a ball, and no one could verify it. So, people couldn't, and nobody was going to admit to that,
There's no video of it. It's just going off anecdotal evidence.
And the other ones were, it was Sanchez. Sanchez had 5 years, right, or 4?
No, it was Gino. Gino
was the second round. Then Darnold.
Oh, you're saying the other quarter? I think you're saying the other quarterbacks in the roster. Yeah, Sanchez was there for 5 years, but the 5th year he got
hurt. Yeah,
he got hurt. Gino was there for 4, and then Darnold and Wilson, obviously.
I'll take Darnold looks good. I was not sold on Darnold. I held my Geno Smith stock for as long as I could, and it eventually.
They had to sell eventually, but then Alec.
I did not even. I did not.
You sold it. You were still holding
out all that crap for benching Eli Manning. I'm like, good. Geno Smith's probably better now.
You were holding out hope when he was the Giants and Chargers backup quarterback. That's crazy.
Well, because I thought he was better than washed end of his career Eli.
Maybe.
And people are like, you got to show him dignity. I'm like, no, you don't. Geno Smith's better. That wants to win games.
Granted, how they handled that was wild because they benched him and then they put him back in the starting lineup, right?
Put him back and fired McAdoo because he was disrespectful. I'm like, why?
Which is so funny.
And Badri Savan, greetings, friends from Morocco. So.
Oh, shit. Yes, that is the Moroccan. Look at you knowing your flags.
Well, my grandfather was in the Navy for 2 years, and for a year of it, he was in Morocco. So
I thought you were going to say your grandfather was Moroccan. And I was going to be
he spent 2 years in Morocco, a year in Morocco in the Navy. So,
by the way, Mike, we are leaving with something from this game. The Jets and Dolphins had scorigami. 32-26 is scorigami.
Really? Huh.
Yep. I know. I was surprised by that. 26
that seems like a common score.
I guess because they're both odd, not odd numbers.
You're even numbers, the opposite of odd numbers.
I don't mean it like that. They're peculiar numbers. They're rare numbers for the sport. And, I guess
but you see 32 scored somewhat often. You see 26,
You see them both enough. But I am also a little surprised by that. But we're leaving here with something, Mike.
That's all we can. That's all we need.
That's all we can do.
We can't root for wins because we don't get them. We just don't get them.
Hey man, I was not. I can't say I'm ever happy when the Jets win, when the Jets lose like this, but I'm not upset. And maybe part of me is happy. I was genuinely rooting for the Jets at the end, but I also or rooting for the Dolphins at the end. But I don't feel like. You know what it is? I feel like I don't even have to root for them because I'm so confident they're going to find a way to blow it. It's almost just like, it's like rooting for the Chiefs every week. I'm like, yeah, they're going to find a way to win. They're going to, something's
That's what I'm saying. It might be better that way because then you can root for the team. And if they win, then they win. And if not, you're like, well.
I'd rather them finding the dumbest possible ways to lose than them getting blown out every week. If they were getting blown out every week, that would suck more because that would be like, oh man, we were really further off than I thought.
See, that honestly, I guess this is different strokes for different folks here. Not that I would mind it less, but if you're just non-competitive from the jump, I'm like, all right, this team sucks. I could buy that. When they're in all these games and then they break your heart every week.
Yeah, but if they're in all these games, clearly that means, okay, they're not a horrific football team. They are a terrible football team, but for different reasons. Talent-wise, they're on par with a middle of the pack team, I would say, talent wise, right?
Maybe even above a middle of the pack team, you could argue.
Let's not get crazy. Maybe, but let's not get crazy. But they're fine. Also, Derek Carr left stadium with his hand in a cast. That's crazy.
Oh no.
So he might be hurt. But yeah, also Marcelo saying Eccles cornerback 2 for next year. So Eccles is a free agent. I thought Eccles had a fantastic game, especially comparing him to guys like Sauce Gardner, who are just not good tacklers. Eccles is a really good and willing tackler. He's a basically everything that Sauce Gardner isn't, Brandon Eccles is, and everything Brandon Eccles is. Brandon Eccles isn't, Sauce Gardner is. Sauce
Gardner is good though. So is that where the line stops?
Hold on. Sauce Gardner is an elite line cover corner. And he still is this year. He's still been a great cover corner. Eccles is not. He's not. Although in a good game today, he's not an elite cover.
That seems like a pretty big indictment of a cornerback.
Yes, but ball skills are great. He's the only corner on the team apparently with ball skills, and he's a good tackler. He is somebody who I genuinely think you could be cool with as your starting corner next to Sauce Gardner. They honestly complement each other well. And I would not be opposed if they brought him back and gave him a starting job next year.
No, I've got it all figured out. I know what to do.
Oh, no.
Safety conversion.
Oh, I mean, yeah, because he's a tackler.
Have him eat a bunch of cheeseburgers, put on some weight. I mean,
put him at free safety. He's pretty rangy. He's a good athlete. Maybe.
I don't think he's not that big for a safety.
I think he's a very poor man's Marcus Peters. Very poor.
Extremely poor. Like,
hey, he had a good. Eccles, when given the chance to start, since his rookie year, which was pretty bad. Since then, whenever he's been given a chance to start, I thought he's played pretty well.
One last question, Jeff. Do you think Adam stays for next season?
I would say no. I'd be surprised at this stage. Again, I think we've talked about this. If Derek Carr were to somehow sneak free from New Orleans and they bring in Carr and he's your bridge quarterback for 2 years, I think Adams might stay then because Adams obviously loves Derek Carr and they were teammates in both college and the NFL at multiple destinations now. So yeah, possible. It's theoretically possible, but yeah, no.
It might be a tough sell too. I mean, he could demand a trade, but if we're talking about building a situation for a young quarterback, to have those two receivers and then be like, all right, Devontae's gone. Like, are you building the best environment for your rookie?
The thing is, he basically controls his destiny, Davante Adams, because he's under contract next year. His cap hit is, I think, $35 million. The Jets are not going to keep him at that cap hit. So to get him to stay next year, they need to get him to agree to a restructured deal. Unfortunately, if he doesn't want to agree to a restructured deal, he could just say, well, either cut me or I'm playing on that salary. And they're going to cut him because he's not going to play on that salary. So he really controls his own destiny. If he wants to stay here, he can. If not, if Rodgers is gone and there's no real clear, indication that the Jets are going to be competitive next year, maybe he leaves. I don't know. Maybe he has some friends in the locker room. Maybe Garrett Wilson could schmooze him and he could talk him into it. Because hell, Mike, I'd like if he stayed. Like Davante Adams is still good. I think one of the takeaways I've had since the Jets traded for Davante Adams is, he's not a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL anymore, but he's still really good. He can still play at a high level, and you are a much better team with Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson as your top 2 wide receivers, as opposed to going into next year where we're talking, man, who the hell is going to be wide receiver 2? Because Allen Lazard is going to be gone, Adams might be gone, and Malachi Corley might not exist for all we know. So they're a better team with Davante Adams. I hope he stays, but I don't think he will at this stage.
I brought this up to you earlier because they're not averse to playing the young guys now. Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, Corley still did not get really any time. The fact that if we're to believe Joe Douglas, if given the chance, he would have, if he had a pick available, would have taken Malachi Corley over Brian Thomas and Ladd McConkey.
Yep.
I don't even know what to say about that.
That's what we're supposed to believe. And Robert Saleh was on board too. He agreed. He was with it.
Malachi Corley, no matter what.
No matter what, man.
I've never seen the Jets be this hyped over. They weren't this hyped over like Sauce or Wilson. In terms of obviously they were hyped, but in terms of like how outwardly they were like, we got our guy.
We have the Robert Saleh clip of him screaming Sauce at Sauce. That was pretty fun. But Corley was their guy.
Show text messages. We're for sure getting this guy.
Not only was Corley like clearly internally their guy, they wanted everyone to know just how badly they wanted.
Exactly. And then halfway into his rookie year, they're like, he can't do anything right.
Can't play. He just can't. There is a very real chance. I know a lot of fans they don't want this, but there's a very real chance with a new regime coming in that Malachi Corley is not on the week 1 roster come 2025. I know what he asked in this chat, but I've seen a lot of questions about Jordan Travis. I'm sorry. There's a real chance Jordan Travis is also not on the week 1 roster come 2025.
You don't pick a guy late 5th round expecting him to be a first,
right.
starting
The Jets drafted Jordan Travis with the hope that he would be a long-term backup quarterback. That was the hope. When you draft a quarterback that late, that's your hope. You're never expecting him to be developed into a starter. If they do, great, amazing. If you somehow get a Brock Purdy, awesome. You are doing cartwheels.
Or a Dak or something.
Or a Dak, you're throwing parties if that happens. But the expectation is that that's not happening. But unfortunately, the expectation was also that he'd be ready at some point in training camp. And now he's going to be missing the entire year, and he's not going to step onto the field in a Jets jersey until OTAs. He's not even with the team. Like when they show the team on the sideline, Jordan Travis is not there. He's not with the team.
And he's old. He's going to be 25 next year.
And he's going to be 25. There's a much higher chance that Jordan Travis is not on the roster in week 1, 2025 than he is legitimately factoring into their plans in any way. Like, I'm not even talking about their starting plans, in their backup plans. Best case scenario for Jordan Travis, he's competing for QB3 going into the spring, and he impresses in the spring and the summer, and now they're like, hey, maybe we got a backup in him. That's best case scenario for Jordan Travis.
Thank you guys for tuning in to the Jet Press podcast. I know that my voice was not up to what it was. I was dealing with something over the weekend. I got like 7 hours of sleep in the last 2 days because I would feel like really great at night. Like I'm like, oh, I'm finally getting over it. And then when I was trying to go to sleep, I would just sound like I got like tuberculosis and I was coughing like crazy. So every time I was about to like be unconscious sleeping, I'd cough and wake up. So I've been way out of my mind.
You got the Arthur Morgan. You got the Arthur Morgan. Spoiler.
Yeah, and thank you though. I'm glad on my days off. That's when I got sick. That's always right when I was going to do Christmas shopping too. So that was very convenient. Justin, any final words about this 3-10 team?
I'm sick too, Mike. I'm sick of losing. I'm sick of this team. I'm sick of not making the playoffs. I'm sick of rooting for losing in December. I hate that. I don't want to do that. Maybe it'll be different next year. I don't know. Brian, real quick, I just wanted to point this out. Brian's got our resident statistician said Garrett Wilson moved to 15th in franchise receiving yards, and he'll be likely able to pass the great Robbie Chosen before December is over. And then Garrett Wilson is likely also going to be moving to top 5 in franchise targets next week, which is actually crazy. 5th all-time in targets already.
Well, because targets they didn't keep track of for so long.
Oh, true. That's true.
They've only started keeping track of that for,
When did they start keeping track?
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Like I'm sure John Maynard got more targets.
Yes, I would imagine. Yeah, man. Those are my final thoughts. I'm sick of losing. I'm sick of this team. We'll be back on Wednesday talking about the Jets, talking about that upcoming tank bowl with the Jaguars, and maybe doing some QB talk, draft talk, whatever. We'll see when it comes around to it. Also, before we sign off, we mentioned this, I believe, last time. Got an interview up there with Demario Davis up live on the Jet Press YouTube channel right now. Demario Davis, personally, one of my favorite players of all time. And I had said this before that I don't know if I said it on the show ever, but he was one of my dream interviews, like one of the people that I always wanted to talk to the most. So very happy we got that opportunity. That interview is live on the Jet Press right now. You can check that out. And thank you all for joining us on the show today. You can follow Mike on Twitter at @ByMikeLuciano. Follow me on Twitter at Justin T. Fried. Follow the Jet Press at the Jet Press. Download the Jet Press podcast wherever you get your podcast. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe, like, hit the notification bell. Also, you can become a member. As we mentioned before, it is just 99 cents, and you can help support the show and prioritize your comments in the chat. We had AJ donate a membership earlier, so much appreciated, AJ, as always, and all of our members. And everybody who just tuned in to listen. We stream live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you all for listening to Jet Press Podcast. I've been Justin Fried. That has been Mike Luciano. See you guys next time.
Hopefully my voice is better next time.